Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Excited to have Susan Grothe joining us live on the podcast and Zoomcast here. She's the artist and owner of Lasting Impression and from Lake Elmo, Minnesota. That's where she's from. She's helping so many people with both cosmetic and medical tattoo services, which we're going to talk about both today and really focus in on the medical tattoo services she provides because it's really changing lives. And there may be people out there, whether you're a breast cancer survivor or have had any other form of medical treatment, maybe you have a scar. She's great at that, covering those up, but so much more. Let me have her say hello and introduce herself. Hi, Susan.
Hello. So great to be with you live today.
Same here, sweetheart. Pleasure to have you back. Oh, it's Lasting Impressions, PMU.com if you want to reach out to her. Right. And that's permanent makeup, right? So I just want people to know where they can reach out to you. Do you want to share a phone number as well or email address or social media? Go for it.
Absolutely. My social media is SG Lasting Impression. That's both Instagram and Facebook. And my phone number is 952-207-4899.
Beautiful. All right. Well, give us a little overview about yourself and your work as an artist.
Absolutely. So I started in this business 2018, and it was a kind of a life-changing, career-changing move. I wanted to do something where I could help other people, something that really allowed me to connect with people. I'd always had an interest in cosmetic tattoos, so I pursued that and started my own business really right as the pandemic was kind of hitting everybody and shut my first studio down. So during that period of time, I couldn't really take clients. Nobody could do anything. Everything was shut down. So that's when I did my medical tattoo training. And that really was a game-changing thing for me. The medical tattoo just really resonated with me because of the impact that it had on people. I started to do this work, was absolutely transformed by the complexity, the absolute detail that you need to pay attention to be able to camouflage scars and to be able to work on areola, and had my first areola client shortly after that. And I was just hooked. It was like a door opening for me. It really was something that felt so purposeful. I was really driven to provide the service. As I've worked over the last several years, I have taken a lot of additional training. I've worked with a number of different clients and just grown my skill and expertise, and just feel that this is what I was meant to do. It's just really a rewarding opportunity to work with people and help them regain their sense of body confidence and just overall confidence.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. And
absolutely.
Wow, I appreciate you being here and doing the show and promoting, the visibility of this, because like you said, not everybody is aware of, this and the amount of self-confidence that you can gain from this, because those dealing with this, who are scarred from medical incisions, their self-confidence is low. And I've seen your work, and I want people to go to your website and take a look, because it's just like night and day. There's women out there who, women who, you may know this or not, but who have absolutely no nipple, no areola at all, and you're actually making one. It's art. It looks amazing. You can't even tell in some of these pictures. So I commend you on that. It's giving these women self-confidence. And tell me, give me an example of someone, you don't have to use their name, that you've worked on in a sense, and how it changed their lives.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a number of clients who have shared with me that prior to this, they'd get out of the shower, they just would cover themselves up. They would not, as they were dressing, wouldn't let their loved ones see them. Some of these women have been married for, 20, 30 years with grown children. So, they obviously had partners they've been with a long time, but yet had this really, this aversion to looking at their body, either directly or having someone see it. They looked in the mirror, they'd see scars.
Oh.
They'd relive the trauma, the
Mm-hmm.
emotional trauma of having breast cancer, the trauma of having surgeries. That's what they'd see. Those scars reminded them of that. So after I've worked with them, especially with areola, they were able to look in the mirror. One gal specifically told me she looked in the mirror after that and she really felt like her body was whole. She felt that she didn't have anything to be ashamed of. And it's kind of like getting through the trauma of the scars. When you're able to cover that up, when you're able to make that look real, for the first time, they regain this sense of body confidence and really just self-confidence overall. It's really a life-changing thing. So that's really one of the main things that motivates me to do this, just the impact that it has on the people that I work with.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And
Yeah.
yeah, seeing is believing. What other procedures are people usually left scarred that can come to you? So obviously breast cancer, breast reconstructions, but what other types of medical, maybe someone out there has had a surgery and are just curious how you can help with the scar camouflaging service.
Yeah. Yeah. Scar camouflage is such a broad category, but surgical scars are very common. Knee surgery, hip surgery, thyroidectomy, C-sections, all of the different breast surgeries. The breast surgeries, not just from cancer, but breast reduction.
Yeah.
So there's, even augmentation. Sometimes there are subsequent surgeries with that, and you'll have scarring. So there's a lot of surgical scars out there. I think it's estimated that 85% of people have scars.
Wow.
So it's not just a thing for women. I mean, men have scars as well, and especially with surgical scars, cosmetic tattoo can really be beneficial. I have a client who had facelift scars, and the facelift scars typically are up kind of over the ear, and they if you're working with a good plastic surgeon, they typically try to get those right in the hairline. Well, sometimes that doesn't work, or maybe the surgeon isn't as skilled, but I've seen
Yeah.
scars that are very visible. And in this particular case, this gal had shorter hair, but she liked to work out a lot, and she was unable to pull her hair up in a ponytail without those scars being very
Ah.
visible. So we were able to camouflage the scars. So when she had her hair up and was working out, you really weren't able to see the visible scars anymore. And you can do that with, any type of surgical scar, as long as the scar is, healed, which generally is going to be at least 6 to 9 months. You want them to be more flat, white. You don't want scars that have a lot of texture to them. Scars with a lot of texture often end up not being a great option for camouflage because
Yeah.
I can't change the texture as easily.
Got it.
So those flatter, whiter surgical scars often are the easiest ones to camouflage,
God, I also
and
want
you
to
can
point
make
out.
those blend
Oh,
right in.
great. Well,
Yep.
631-307-4010. The lines are open. 631-307-4010. If you have any questions, please give us a call. And, medical, tattoo service you're providing, or permanent makeup, I should say, are amazing. And you also do, though, specialize with regular cosmetic type of, permanent touch. Oop, we have hold on. We have a call
I
coming in.
do.
Hi, welcome to the show. You're live on the line. Who's this?
Hi, this is Sabrina.
Oh, hi, Sabrina. How are you?
Good, good. How are you guys?
Great. Just want to let you know you are live on the line. And of course, Susan Grothe is here joining us live from Lasting Impression. Did you have a question? Anything? No limits.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, Susan, how are you? I do have a
Good.
question for
Good.
you. So I have it may be a little weird, but I have a huge scar from my C-section when I gave birth. Is that something that you help with? Like, how many sessions are typically needed if you do help with that? And, like, what is the recovery like?
Ooh.
That is a great question, Sabrina. C-section scars are actually one of the more common scars for camouflage because they're often they're often in an area that is advantageous. And I'll give you a couple of examples of that. Your scar is going to be lower and it's not going to be exposed to sun. Say, for instance, you had a scar on your arm or on your chest or on your face, exposed to sun, and the skin surrounding your scar is going to be impacted by sun and develop melanin. So even if I'm able to do the scar camouflage, that surrounding skin is still going to change when you're exposed to sun. So we have to sometimes determine, do you want summer skin? Do you want winter skin? C-section scars are often really low, and they deliberately try and get them like in the bikini line. So even if you have on a bikini, your bikini's going to cover it. Those tend to be very common scars for scar camouflage. From a session standpoint, almost all scar camouflage is at least 2, sometimes 3, could be longer. Without actually seeing your scar, it'd be difficult for me to guess. But my feeling is you'd probably need at least 2 or 3 sessions, depending on the texture of that scar and how it's lying in the skin. We'd make some determination. Do we want to do some initial needling? Oftentimes needling the skin, the scar, prior to pigmenting it allows that pigment to actually adhere in the dermis better. So the pigment that I'm implanting to do the scar camouflage actually has to lie within the skin dermis, and that dermis is really what's been damaged from the scar. So depending on how that scar has healed and how much dermal, it could mean a couple of different treatments, but I'd say 2 or 3. From a healing standpoint, it's not a lot of different from healing if you get a body art tattoo. The things that you would avoid would be like swimming, being in water, being in a hot tub, sauna. You want to kind of avoid those types of hot, I'm going to call them humid environments. You're probably going to have a salve you'll apply, multiple times a day. Takes about a good 7 to 10 days for that initial healing. And then the skin is going to heal for an additional 3 weeks. And subsequent treatments are done usually at that 5 or 6 week mark. Does that help you understand what would be involved with that?
Yeah, definitely. That helped me a lot. I really do appreciate you taking the time to, explain that and stuff to me. That definitely helped me. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank
it's a
you
common
so much.
Scar that paramedical tattoo artists would actually work on to do scar camouflage. So I hate to say you've got a good scar, but that tends to be one that typically you have more success with from a camouflage standpoint.
Beautiful.
Right. That makes sense. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
And
You're welcome.
Thank you. If anyone wants to reach out, would you mind sharing your contact information? And thank you again for listening, hon, and for calling in. How do we contact you?
You can contact me at my website, which is lastingimpressionpmu.com. My email is susan@lastingimpressionpmu.com. And my phone number is 952-207-4899.
Beautiful. Thank you. Lines are still open, 631-307-4010 if you have any questions. In the meantime, what else did you want to discuss for your audience today?
Well, the option for areola tattoo is really not one that is very well known. There's not a lot of visibility for it. Typically when women are diagnosed with breast cancer, the first thing that's going to happen is you're going to see an oncologist. And the oncologist is going to, talk you through the options, whether that be chemotherapy or surgery or a combination of both of those things. The next stop on your journey is going to be typically with a plastic surgeon who would be involved in the actual reconstruction of the breast. And there's a myriad of different ways to do that. I'm not a plastic surgeon, but I've seen all sorts of different ways to do that. Whether it's implants, whether it's actual skin grafts. Depending on how it's done, you will have scars. I have not met anyone who doesn't have some type of scarring.
Yep.
And, that the degree of scarring really is dependent on, your surgeon's skill and also your body. And then you'll be offered typically an option of nipple reconstruction and tattoo, which is done in a physician's office. And they really do not often talk about areola tattoo as an outside option with someone like me who's kind of specializes in that. I'm not paying into the medical system. There's not really any motivation for the medical system to refer out. I'm kind of outside of that system. But the advantages are the downtime with areola tattoo is going to be considerably less than the downtime if you're doing a nipple reconstruction. It's much less invasive, and you can achieve a much higher degree of realism with the areola tattoo. You've got the ability to use multiple colors. You've got the highlight, you've got the low light, so you really can create that image of a protruding nipple on a scarred and often flat surface.
Amazing.
And I do a lot of work with women who have already had nipple reconstruction and areola tattoo at a surgeon's office. Usually I see those procedures often, the nipple reconstruction will kind of flatten over time. They're not always even, they're not always symmetrical. And that tattoo that you're going to get at a surgeon's office is usually kind of a one-dimensional, one-color disc. So it really doesn't, have all of the realism. Over time, it just kind of fades to a light, I see like a light coral fading, a light pink fading. And I've worked with a number of people who have already gone through that option, 5, 6, 7. My last client, it was 10 years later. Now she's coming to me because she really felt like, well, my breasts just look like blobs. I look in the mirror and I don't feel whole. And having this areola tattoo really made her feel like, herself again, feeling much more body confident and actually kind of proud of her body. She was like, I look pretty good.
Darn right. That's amazing. And just curious, the process of doing, let's say, an areola permanent makeup. And let me ask you, how many sessions does someone need? Is that also painful? What are some of the things we should know, right? And just so people can expect it,
Yeah. Areola tattoo, I always do this within 2 sessions. So I have your initial appointment. Usually that's where I'm going to choose colors. I do a lot of custom color matching. So I'm going to match the colors so they blend well with your skin. So I'm really looking at your skin, looking at the tones within your skin and choosing colors to make that nipple look as natural and as good as possible on your body. The second session, I'm going to add a lot more of the detail. Sometimes I do this in 2 sessions, especially if someone's already had a tattoo, years prior, because I'm trying to make sure with that first session, I get coverage of that previous pigment. It's always there and it tends to surface when I'm working. So that's a 2-step process. Usually takes, I always schedule the second session about 6 to 8 weeks after the first session. So I would say overall, you're looking at a process of about, 8 to 10 weeks. You had asked about cosmetic tattoo. Cosmetic tattoo is also 2 sessions, whether you're talking eyeliner or eyebrows or lip color. I always do those between 5 and 8 weeks apart. The initial session, you always go through a 4-week healing period. That's just standard for everyone's skin. And then I don't typically take that second appointment until week 5. So, again, you're looking at about an 8 to 10 week process to be fully done and healed.
Thank you so much. And just a little of your background for those that don't know, could you share your expertise and your training with us? Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I have trained with many of the top areola artists who are known, recognized both nationally and globally within North America, probably 5 of maybe the top 7 or 8 people. I've taken just extensive training in color theory and pigment science. I've taken many, many classes in cosmetic tattoo, whether that be advanced training for different types of brows or eyeliner or lip color. I'm kind of a training junkie. So, training and education is really central to what I do. And I feel very important to be good at this. So I've taken a lot of training over the last, 6, 7 years. I continually take training. I'm always training. So that's kind of where I'm at from a training perspective.
Right. Thank you so much. And, being here that we're
Yeah,
on Zoom today,
absolutely.
people are watching, let alone, hopefully going to reach out. The lines are open still, 631-307-4010. If you do have any questions, that's 631-307-4010. And, lasting impressions, pmu.com. Let's just point out your exact location for those in Minnesota.
I'm in Lake Elmo, Minnesota, which is a suburb just east of the central, Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul area. So right on the East Metro. Pretty easy to find, great location that's just really easy to find and wonderful to work in. It's kind of a spa-like vibe here. We've got some great green plants and fountain as you come in the door. It's just a nice, quiet, serene location. It's just a perfect spot for my studio. I love it here.
Beautiful. And let me just ask, I see a lot of trends happening when it comes to permanent makeup, and I feel like everyone's getting their brows and lips done now. I remember years ago, my mom had this done. We're talking like 30, 40 years ago. It was a very different technique. What is the technique when it comes to brows? Because I feel like everyone could use a little more brow, right? But what is the technique today? It gets me, I'm a little confused when it comes to the terminology I hear out there, because some people say, don't do this one, do this one. And honestly, it's confusing thing to a lot of people.
Right, right. Well, permanent makeup has really advanced in the last, I'm going to say 10, 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's the techniques have evolved. The pigments have been revolutionized. The equipment is just really specific and dedicated to cosmetic tattoo. That didn't exist, 15 years ago. And with that came a lot of different techniques. Microblading was very popular for a period of time. I'm seeing it kind of fade out a little bit these days. Microblading it all falls under cosmetic tattoo. Microblading is just one of the techniques, and it's a technique that uses a small scalpel-like instrument to deposit the ink. It's just a one of the techniques kind of under all of the umbrella that you consider cosmetic tattoo. But there's powder brows, there's ombre brows, there's nano brows, there's 100 different names from them. And, the industry's kind of fond of, dreaming up different names for different procedures. But basically you're going to deposit that pigment in the skin using some type of tool. With microblading, it's more of a scalpel-like tool. With all of the other brow techniques, you're using more of a tattoo machine, which uses a disposable cartridge. And nano brows have become very popular as of late. Nano brows is really a technique that you're using a tattoo machine to create a real fine hair-like, look on the brow. Powder brows more simulates makeup. In the brow, if you're using makeup or a pencil, powder brows or ombre brows kind of simulates that look. That tends to be the most longest lasting. So a powder brow will last considerably longer, I would say, than a microbladed brow or a nano brow. The hair strokes are hard to maintain over time. They can look great right away, but all small, fine lines under the skin, regardless of how you're putting them there, tend to kind of fade and blur over time. So oftentimes what happens if you've had one of those techniques done, you end up transitioning into more of a shaded brow, which is just going to kind of fill in those holes. but it still can look very natural.
Yeah, no, and just curious, when it comes to doing brows, right? And with any type of permanent makeup, there is fading over time. So there is probably, is it wise to say touch-ups are necessary or not for most?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So the difference is from a cosmetic tattoo, brows, depending on the technique you're using, the hair stroke, microblading is maybe 18 to 24 months, and then you'll need a touch up. Powder brows can be 2, 3, 4 years. So the machine techniques for brows tend to last longer, but they're all designed to fade. And they're designed to fade because of the pigments we use. The pigments are different than are used on the body for body art. For instance, if you were to get a tattoo on your body somewhere, they are designed to fade over time because you really don't want to create this indelible, permanent, look on your face, because your face is going to age over time. And that mark, however you're putting it there, if you're tattooing it and it's going to be a classic body art, technique, it's going to stay the same over time. So you really want that to fade over time with the opportunity to kind of touch it up over time. Eyeliner tends to last a little bit more than most of the cosmetic treatments. Eyeliner can last, 5, 10 years, even longer. Excuse me.
No problem.
Lip colors, probably about 2 years. Get a little drink here.
It's okay. Well, we have to wrap up the show. In the meantime, I will chat until you can. It's Susan Grothe. That's her name. She's the owner and artist of Lasting Impression. That's Lasting Impression, PMU.com. Reach out to her with any questions when it comes to medical tattooing, scar camouflage, and, of course, cosmetic permanent makeup as well. And she's had a lot of experience in this field. And we're excited that she's joining us here live again today. And how did you want to leave off with everyone?
If you have any questions and want to reach out to me directly, my cell phone is 952-207-4899.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Have a fantastic day, okay?
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye-bye.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Jason Derulo. I love that music connects to people all over the country. But unfortunately, so does something else. Childhood hunger. 15 million kids struggle with hunger right here in America. And yet, every year, billions of pounds of surplus food in the U.S. go to waste instead of going to the children in need. Feeding America is working to change this. The Feeding America nationwide network of food banks rescues this surplus of food to help provide meals to families in virtually every community in the United States, including yours. But they just can't do this alone. Join me in the fight against hunger in America. For more information on what you can do to get involved, visit feedingamerica.org. That's feedingamerica.org. Together we can solve hunger. Together, we're Feeding America. A message from Feeding America and the Ad Council.